G'day, Gordon from Ionic Systems. Just wanted to present you with this video in relation to familiarisation of the Quattro. So if you've just taken delivery of a system from us, I'd just like to give you a brief overview that you can refer to and show employees within your business. So the Quattro system itself is a reverse osmosis system. 4 filters that make up that filtration process, and we'll go through them individually. The first filter where water does come through is a carbon filter, 5 micron carbon. Water will then go through sediment filter, 5 micron sediment, into the reverse osmosis filter. Depending on the hardness of the water where you are in Australia or elsewhere, the RO filter will do anywhere from 95 to 98% of the work. It'll finally be polished off with a DI filter, deionized filter. So 4 filters, bit of an overview, we'll touch on those again. The front of the Quattro, what we have here is a universal power lead. Because the Quattros go to about 32 countries, the power lead is adapted to suit their power requirements. The electric motor within the Quattro is a 0.38 kilowatt motor. So what I tell people, a 2 kVA generator is ample to run the Quattro if you didn't want to take the time to plug that into a 240 volt power source. On top of the Quattro here, we have a bypass valve. So this valve here controls the water flow around the RO filter, the reverse osmosis filter. So in any RO system, water goes through the RO filter and around the RO filter. Water that goes around the RO filter is rejected through one of the ports here, which is labelled reject water. So on the front of the Quattro we have 3 ports in total. Water in, which is our untreated water, which comes from our garden tap, or could come from our caddy softener if you're in a hard water environment. We have our reject water port, so this is the water flow around the reverse osmosis unit and will be a higher mineral content than the water coming in, because it's trapped all the contaminants and is rejecting out through that reject port. So we'll run a garden hose from that port down the drain or water someone's garden bed or lawn. We also have our pure water outlet. So that's our pure water through our 4 filter process, our RO process, and that RO water or pure water will eject from that port. We can, from that, if we wanted to run 2 hose reels, and the Quattro is quite capable, we'd come off that port, we'd go into a Y piece and we'd split towards 2 hose reels. On the front of the Quattro we have a pressure gauge. The pressure gauge is very important. One, it gives us an indication of the pressure from the garden tap, and also the working pressure of the Quattro when it is switched on. We have our power switch, our on-off switch, and we have our hour meter. So the hour meter will reflect the hours that the Quattro electric pump is running, and from that we can determine how many litres you've done and correspond that to filter replacements. So that's a brief overview of the front of the Quattro. The bypass valve is very important. So as I said before, controls the water flow around that reverse osmosis filter. So when we first start the Quattro, leave the bypass valve in the inline position, in line with the pipes. One, it'll allow a soft start of the motor. It allows the pump, the electric pump, to fire up and be at a reduced pressure. So to start the Quattro, we would connect our garden tap, our hose, to the inlet of the Quattro, which is our untreated. The other end of the hose would go to your garden tap. After water starts flowing to your Quattro, and I'd recommend a 1/2 inch 12mm hose as an inlet feed, you'd turn your garden tap on, you would plug your Quattro into a 240 volt power source. Water will start then flowing out of the reject and minimal amount out of your pure water port. After it starts flowing, one, with the bypass valve in a position like we are, with no power on your Quattro, you can turn your bypass valve to 90 degrees. What that'll do is start pushing water through the RO filter. We'll get an increase in pressure, and the pressure gauge will then reflect approximately the pressure coming into the Quattro from your garden tap. And that pressure might vary anywhere from 25 psi probably up to about 90 psi coming into your Quattro. At that point in time, with the valve in that position, reject water will decrease and your pure water outlet will increase, because we're pushing more water through the filtration process to ultimately obtain more pure water out. So to start the Quattro, as I said, put the tap in line. We'd plug this into a 240 volt source or a 2 kVA generator. The garden tap would be on. Once water starts flowing, we then turn the Quattro on. The Quattro, very quiet, it'll fire up, and the pressure, once the garden tap is on, will have anywhere previously to turning the unit on, sort of 30 to 50 or 100 psi. We'll turn the Quattro on and we'll get an increase above that pressure. With the bypass valve in that position, the Quattro will run at a reduced pressure. 1 or 2 seconds after the Quattro fires up, we can then move that bypass valve to a 90 degree position. This will increase the flow through the bypass, through the reverse osmosis filter. We'll get a reduction in reject water and an increase in pure water, and the pressure will hover between 140 to 200 psi depending on your inlet pressure. At the end of the day, at the end of the week, depending on your water condition and duress of maintaining your system, this valve, as I said, controls the water flow around and through the reverse osmosis. So when you're finished and prior to pack up, turn the bypass valve, flush valve, back to an inline position to increase the water flow around the reverse osmosis, and that'll flush away contaminants and put it to reject and put it down your drain. That's a basic overview of the Quattro. All the fittings on the Quattro are John Guest. So John Guest is the gentleman that's invented the fittings. So the fittings are quick release. So if we look at the collars on the fittings, they have a circlip. If I push that circlip back in to the housing or cap, push down on that circlip, I'm able to disconnect that fitting. Reconnect by simply engaging like that. So to go over that again, circlip down, release. It's a plug and play, and that's in relation to all the fittings on the Quattro. Push the circlip back in and separate. Brief overview of the Quattro. Gordon from Ionic Systems. Appreciate you watching.